Joining me now, Bianco Research President Jim Bianco. And Jim, I mean, you've advocated for rules of the road when it comes to crypto and the DeFi revolution, but these moves by these larger central banks, do you sense at all that there could be an effort to usurp or derail this whole DeFi move?
Well, there could be, and the way that they would do it is, it's known in the industry as know your customer rules. They want to make sure that everybody who deals with DeFi at every level, you know who the person is, you know who their social security account is, you know what money they have. That's basically the system that we have right now. One of the things that the DeFi revolution is trying to do by getting away from that is not so much of a libertarian ideal, and that's part of it, but it makes it a lot more efficient. We want to get to the day where, Charles, I can send you $100 and you would get it in 1 second, and it would cost me nothing to send it to you, and you could receive it without incurring a charge either. And we don't need a bank in the middle of it. That's what they ultimately want to get to. But if you're going to stick all these rules, like know your customer rules and anti-money laundering rules in there, there's always going to be a charge. And unfortunately, those charges fall heavily on the poor that are trying to send money.
Yeah, and someone that hit me earlier saying that Coinbase is now it's starting soon going to require a photo ID or a driver's license. And, people, a lot of folks they're trying to do this because not that they're trying to rob or steal from the government, but they want their own anonymity. They want to be able to do things and not have the heavy hand of middlemen, taxes, and governments in the way. And to that point, I'm struck. 90 up to 100 countries, Jackie just mentioned, exploring this issue, maybe their own digital currency, perhaps as an alternative to the SWIFT banking system. And this gets me back to a question. I think you and I may have talked about it. Globalism, is it over? Do countries see how easily they can be cut off?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, 90 to 100 countries are trying to do it, but they're all doing it, like Jackie said, because they want control. Well, if you go back to, we're going to set up a new system and we're going to control it at every step of the process, that's the old system. And that's so you're not really accomplishing anything. But to your larger question about globalism, we're kind of halfway there. I think whether you agree with or don't agree with the sanctioning of Russia through the SWIFT system and the central banks cutting off their reserves, look, Russia deserved it, but it opened a Pandora's box. It's got people very nervous. Always good intentions start that way, and later on it's abused down the road. And so people are starting to look for an alternative, but there isn't a clear alternative. Cryptocurrencies are not ready to be the global standard for trade. Maybe someday, way off in the future, they can be. If you want to go away from the dollar and trade in your own currency, it's going to get a lot more expensive to do global trade. So in theory, everybody wants to do away with the dollar, but in reality, we don't really have an efficient alternative unless you want to accept the costs of not trading in dollars.
Right. And real quick, by the way, I cheered with the Russia SWIFT decision, and then a few minutes later I said, golly, they could do that to me. I caught your Twitter. I caught your Twitter dust up with the Daily Dirt Nap, and complaining maybe or observing that the VIX had come all the way down despite all the bad things that are happening in the world. Then you put up a chart of World War II just to sort of say maybe these markets aren't sanguine because this has happened before. But how do you explain to someone when all these negatives are happening, the market rallying like this?
I think, what happened right after September 1939 was for the next 2 months, the market took in stride the beginning of World War II. And then by 1942, it was down significantly. I think that there's the hope right now. The market, we've got the war going on, and there's the hope there will be a resolution. There will be a ceasefire. There will be some kind of an agreement to stop the hostilities and roll back all of the sanctions. The hope of that. If that doesn't come, disappointment will follow.
Yeah, and of course, the hope that NATO doesn't get pulled into it as well. Jim, always appreciate these conversations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, folks.